Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt podcast, brought to you by Onyx. On today's episode, I am joined by one of my good buddies and one of my favorite people to talk to, Clint Casper. It's easy to see why I think this way through his enthusiasm and positive attitude. We talk about some hunting stories, dealing with crazy weather, going mentally all in, setting goals and never settling, type 2 fun, and a story of how he found success on herd bull elk in a high-pressured Utah unit. So this episode is brought to you by Onyx. The Onyx Hunt app is your premier GPS hunting app that turns your phone into a working GPS. By using the offline feature, you can use your downloaded maps in the field without service in airplane mode to conserve battery and always know where you are. If you want to check out the Onyx Hunt app for yourself, head over to onyxmaps.com. Use the coupon code EMW to save 20%. Tethered is a company that's founded on the principles of educating the hunting community on saddle hunting while creating the most innovative, lightweight, safe products for saddle hunting. They have mobile hunting gear options for all types of hunters and continue to push the envelope. I will be at another Tethered Teach and Train event this weekend, August the 14th, 2021, for a Teach and Train event at Bucks and Bows Archery in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, just north of Pittsburgh, from 10 to 2 p.m. Stop by. It's a free event. I will be there along with John Eberhart, and I'll have a booth set up with all of my apparel there for sale and just getting to talk saddle hunting and whatever other kind of gear you guys want to talk about. So stop there, and if you want to learn more about tethered and saddle hunting outside of that, head over to tetherednation.com. Maven is building the highest quality optics at half of the price of their competitors through their direct-to-consumer business model. They want to create the best optics for the job, period. The products are backed with a lifetime, no-fault warranty and an incredible customer experience. I'm using the B2 9x45 binos on all of my western hunts. It is a low-light monster, allowing you to see through the binos longer than you can with your naked eye. You can use the coupon code eastmeetswest-gift for a free gift with any full-price optics order at mavenbuilt.com. And last but not least, Spartan Forge utilizes years of military background and machine learning to pull from millions of data points to accurately predict deer movement, including GPS data, 30 years of weather, academic, and state research. They're using science rather than someone's opinion to figure out movement for your specific hunting area so that you make sure you are hunting on the best days. The outfitter is available online currently and will become an app soon. The price will increase at that point, but if you buy it now, you are locked into the lower rate. So you can use the code EastMeetsWest to save 25% off of the outfitter at SpartanForge.ai. On this week's Mountain Buck Story of the Week, or otherwise known as Mountain Buck Monday, over on social media, find photos from this story at East Meets West Hunt on Instagram and East Meets West Outdoors on Facebook. So this story comes from Ryan McNichol, and it comes from Pennsylvania. The day before my rut trip, my sister got sick, and I couldn't go to the mountain house because of the family living there being in their 70s. My buddy and I had days off and decided to go to his boss's camp and hunt the public land there. I'd been there once the weekend before and just quickly scouted because my plan revolved around the mountains. With that being out of the window, I did a speed scout for the first morning, and the best spot seemed like doe traffic. I was always told to hunt the does for a buck in November. I went in that afternoon with a hang-on and set up thinking I wouldn't see anything until the last hour with all the heat. This was November the 5th, so if you remember that, it was very hot. At 4:15, I saw this guy heading towards a scrape at 15 yards, and then he turned down the hill I was on, and that's when I saw the doe. I had one shooting lane at 30 yards, but he grunted and ran by it. I drew, and he stopped, and in my head said 20, put my pin on him, and shot. I went back to the house and waited for my buddy, and a couple hours later, we found him just 100 yards away. And this buck, if you, again, check out the photo, beautiful Pennsylvania 8-pointer, nice mature looking buck. Just awesome story. Been able, that Ryan was able to adjust on the fly into a new area and get the job done. So nice work, Ryan. Pretty awesome. And keep those mountain buck stories coming. I love hearing them. I love getting them in. So send them my way and I'll be sure to share them. And the only other news I have really this week is the Blaze Orange Mountain Buck patch hats and also the Freedom Flag patch hats that have been out of stock are now back in my store and ready to ship. The Blaze hats I haven't been able to get, since last year, and I sold out in 7 days. But I got more this time, so hopefully it lasts a little bit longer. But if you head over to eastmeetswesthunt.com/shop and check out all of my apparel there, I donate 3% of the sales, not the proceeds of sales, to conservation organization of my choice for the quarter, which this quarter will be the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. So check that out, and if you feel like supporting the show with some badass apparel, then give that a shot. So on today's episode, as I said, I have Clint Casper coming on, and this is the episode that if you listen to it now, you need to replay this when you're driving out west and going on a hunt, because I promise you, if you don't want to just get after it in the mountains after listening to Clint talk, then we probably won't get along. He is one of the best people for motivating others, and he just has such a positive attitude. It's infectious. So I really enjoyed this one with Clint, and I think all of you will as well. So that being said, let's jump into this episode with Clint Casper. All right, we're live. Clint Casper, welcome back, buddy.
My man, Beau, it feels good to be back. Gosh dang, it's been a long time. Way too long.
I know.
Way too long. You've kind of shunned me off the podcast, Like I made one comment about Colby and I getting kind of close and being really tight and having our own animal shelter. Next thing I know, I don't get invited on. I don't hear from you. It's like, I don't know. Like maybe we need to talk on air and just figure this all out, because I just feel like you kind of shunned me out a little bit.
Maybe we should just air it out right here. It's one of those things. Yeah, you were getting too close to my girlfriend. I had to be like, I gotta keep Clint Casper is a snake, and you gotta keep him away from anything that you care about.
Yeah, well, and that goes for hunting units, women. Just anything that you really care about. Like, don't loan him a trail camera. Yeah, I get it, dude. I get it.
Well, no, it's funny because the last time we recorded was when you were at my house, when you came and stayed for the weekend, and that was last summer. So yeah, it's been a while, and I was supposed to do one with you about a month and a half ago.
Well, I was gonna say right, yeah, you need to tell that story. Like that was, oh man, I'm getting all pumped up for this podcast. Next thing I know, you're stranded with 87 things gone bad in Montana, and I'm just like, man, you can't even make this shit up.
No, I was stuck in the Bozeman airport for 48 hours trying to get home, and just had to miss work and all this other stuff that was just terrible. And everyone at work thought I was like somehow found something to hunt, and I was making up the story. I'm like, guys, I really wish I was doing something cool, but I'm sitting in an airport just trying to get home. I never thought I'd want to leave Montana, but I did.
I went to Colorado a few years ago to scout a unit, and these terrible storms blew in. It was like hail and thunder and lightning, but like severe. Like, they blew in for hours. My flight gets delayed. Well, then something's wrong with the plane. So long story short, I sat in the Denver airport, which, mind you, for those who don't know, I'm a huge craft beer guy, and there's 8 million craft beer spots in that airport. Needless to say, for 17 hours, I was in the Denver, Colorado airport. I tried every craft beer known to man at least 3 times, almost maxed, pretty much about bankrupted myself. I was drunk and sober at least 5 times back to back. So I'd get buzzed and then go to sober, get something to eat, and then go back, drink more. That's what I did for 17 hours. I didn't look at a craft beer for probably a month, and I honestly didn't even want to hear the word Colorado for a few weeks till I went back on my hunt. It was one of those deals where I was like, I couldn't wait to leave that state. And I love that state because there's giant mule deer there.
I didn't know that story. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. It was bad. Like, I mean, my work's calling. They're mad. We got this big project going on, and I told them I'd be back, and they don't believe me. And I'm like, look it up. I'm like, look, you could watch the storms roll in and roll out. Like, so like I brought my plane tickets home and showed them, like, there was no option. I was stuck. I mean, there was no flights. Like, everyone is laying in the airport. Most of them are like using their time wisely, like, sleeping or reading a book. Meanwhile, I'm getting tanked up over at the local microbrewery. But hey, I had a hell of a good time by myself, met a lot of cool people. It is what it is. Like I said, I had a great time. I just wasn't able to drink craft beer for a month because I literally had tried every kind known to man in that airport 3 times over again.
Well, I could imagine how you were. Like, I know you, and I could see you just like sitting at the bar talking to everybody around you, just like having a good old time.
Well, it's kind of funny. So Colorado, as everyone knows, it's kind of a hippie state. Actually, a ton of anti-hunters there. I met this chick. She was from Arkansas. Name was Maggie, and huge anti-hunter. Somehow I get connected with her. We end up at like 3 breweries together. We're bullshitting, and she notices. So I've got a sleeve on my left arm of a bunch of stuff that I've killed with my bow. Turkeys, bear, mule deer, whitetail, elk, etc. She notices that. She's like, "Oh, you love wildlife." I'm like, well, I mean, yes. Like, yeah, I love them, but maybe not like in the way you're thinking, and then we get to talking. And long story short, in a 7-hour span, we went from sober and she didn't want to talk to me anymore because she hates hunters to at the end, she was like, you know what? My dad asked me to go hunting with him every year. I might go this year because honestly, I have a new profound respect for hunters, and I feel like he's like you. Like, I really felt like I did something there. Maybe it's just because she was half drunk the whole time, and that's how I persuaded her into kind of looking at it from another viewpoint. But Maggie from Arkansas, if you are listening, maybe you listen to Beau's podcast now. I don't know. If you are listening, hello, I hope you're doing well. We had a hell of a good time for 7 hours at all the breweries, and she was going to maybe give hunting like a second chance. So, I mean, that was one really cool thing that come out of it.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, and now she's living in Ohio with me, and we got one on the way.
No, really what you thought you were going to say was, well, I've probably got a kid now in Arkansas running around somewhere that looks like me, come out with tattoos, but I haven't yet found him. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's needless to say, I know what you mean about the airport deal. Everyone thinks it'd be awesome to sit and quote unquote party for a whole day at the airport, but it's honestly not that fun when it's you and you're literally stuck there for almost an entire day. It's honestly, it gets old real quick.
Yeah, no, I completely understand there. And last year, we didn't, I mean, we talked on the phone about it. We haven't talked about it on the podcast at all, but you had some real bad weather problems in Colorado on your hunt as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So I started off last year and went to Utah, went and hooked up with my good buddy Devin Leonard. Shout out to Devin. He runs Hunter's Box Club. For those listeners probably, well, actually, Beau, you've done some stuff with us over Hunter's Box Club, so your listeners probably know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But went over and hunted with Devin. He was chasing a giant early season, went over and basically just went over to help him, come back home for like a week, and then headed out. Kind of usually every year I end up drawing a Colorado tag somewhere. I go out there solo. It's kind of my favorite hunt of the year. I usually always do that one solo. Jump in my truck and make the 30-hour, 28-hour, depending on where I'm going in the state trip. Got to my unit, new unit this year. I've never stepped foot in it to scout anything. Got in there and it's 90 degrees, normal early season Colorado. In the high country, it's in the 70s, 80s, normal. Thank God for the Garmin InReach Mini and the weather alerts. 2.5 days into my hunt, my InReach starts blowing up, weather alerts. I'm getting text messages from my buddies in Colorado, from people back home. Everyone is like, basically losing their mind that they haven't heard from me yet, that I'm on my way home. And I'm like, did I miss something? Like, I'm confused here. Start looking at the weather alerts, and there's this giant snowstorm blowing in. I started packing out. So I had hunted for 2 days, moved camp like 4 times, scouted 2 days, hunted 2 days. I'd moved camp 3 or 4 times, was just kind of starting to get into some bucks. And all hell breaks loose. Supposed to be 12 to 14 inches of snow top overnight. Temperature is going to go from mid-70s down into the 20s. Well, the main concern is the roads that I took in my truck to get up over these passes with all the snow, they're going to close them. So if you don't get out of there in time, you get locked in, you're pretty much shit out of luck. Like, the mountain roads close, and if you're in there, you're in there. A lot of them will get opened back up with dozers and stuff, but that's not till after the storm. So you're pretty much going to ride it out. So now I've got to make this decision on, okay, am I staying in here? Am I riding this out? Or am I going to have to do the unthinkable, which is I'm going to have to cut this hunt short, and then I'm going to basically have to leave and go home and tack on more days to my next hunt coming up, which would be my Utah elk hunt. So now I'm in this like makeshift mind movement of what to do. Well, I mean, not many people go into an early season archery hunt prepared for possibly 20-degree weather and getting dumped on with snow. My tent setup was, I had a Big Agnes Tiger Wall. It's a little 2-person. I think I've got it cut down to under 2 pounds, everything. Awesome little backpacking tent for what I do early. It is not the tent you want in a snow and ice storm. It is not the tent you want on the side of a mountain when it's 19 degrees. I mean, it's just, so that kind of alone pretty much ruled out my thought of staying and trying to just tough it out. So ended up having to pack out that day. Luckily got out of there just as the storm was rolling in. Ended up being, I forget what the total amount of inches was in that area. I want to say it was like 14, 15. I mean, it was a shitload. They haven't seen anything like that early, and I forget how many years. So realistically, probably a great idea on my part that I did get out of there. It was the longest ride home of my life. I mean, I was devastated the entire time. I know I talked to you, at least a couple times.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it was very disheartening because I look forward to that hunt probably the most every year. But I had to make a good judgment call. It all worked out in the end because I tacked on days to my elk hunt. I ended up needing those days. I didn't kill my bull until the extended part of my hunt. And if I wouldn't have had those days, I wouldn't have got him killed. So it did all work out. Needless to say, that weather, wow. I mean, that was, no one saw that coming. That kind of popped out of thin air, but it just goes to show you how fast stuff can happen out west in high elevations and up in the mountains like that. I mean, like I said, there was no prediction that a week prior to me going out there. It wasn't like I knew that could happen and just wasn't prepared. Like that was not supposed to take place. But lo and behold, as my luck sometimes shows, that's what happened.
Yeah, man. And that's such disheartening. I mean, I could hear it in your voice. Like you were just distraught coming home.
It was awful. Oh, dude, it was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
I would have rather have missed a buck on the last day, but knew I gave it my all, knew I had my opportunity, and it's all on me. Like I just effed up and missed. Like that's all. Like I could live with that, but to have a whole hunt taken away from you and you have absolutely no control over it, like that's what killed me. It still kills me to talk about it. Like it just. We're going to have to talk about something else, Beau, because it just makes me mad to even talk about it.
I know, and especially because, like, that podcast we did right before you left last year, or a couple months before, like, we were talking about the hard things you deal with on these hunts and talking about your 2000 and, was it 19-year mule deer buck, the giant you killed in Colorado, and, like, all these highs, and then you talked about in that podcast some of the lows that you deal with that are just out of your control sometimes. Well, you got hit with it harder than just about anybody could.
Yeah, that was a tough one, man. I mean, it was tough to mentally deal with that, but It was funny. I kind of told myself on the way back, I'm like, well, here's what you're going to do. Like, you're going to let yourself kind of pout and be upset while you're driving back. As soon as you get home, that's it. Colorado's done. We're now moving on to Utah elk. That's the end. That's it. Like, I made it a point to where as soon as my tires hit my driveway back home, there was no more Colorado mule deer. Like, that was it. I was leaving it. I was going to pout and be upset and be pissed and be mad and smack the steering wheel the whole way home for 30 hours. But once I got to my driveway, that was in the rear view, and now we're going to focus on Utah elk. And I think that was important to kind of give myself time to, like, be mad, be pissed off. But then there was a cutoff point of, okay, when we get back, that's it. There is no more thinking about what could have been or what should have been or whatever. Now we're going to worry about the next one. And I mean, that goes for, you're on day 4 of a 10-day hunt and you have a miss or something bad happens or your camp gets raided by a bear or whatever happens. Like, you're at that turning point now where it's like, okay, you're either going to let negativity take over or you're going to harness everything and control it. I just made a post about this last night on Instagram because I've had so many people ask me about how do you endure the tough moments in a hunt and keep it all together. And it's like, you've got a choice. When shit hits the fan, you've got a choice. You're going to go mentally all in and you're going to kick it in another gear and you're going to figure it out and you're going to punch adversity right in the teeth, or you're going to let negativity creep in, and sooner or later it's going to kill you off. But that's your choice. You've got that choice. It's 50-50. You've got that option. And I mean, and you've been on tough hunts. I've been on tough hunts. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, because there comes a point in time where you mentally have to just stop doing what you're doing and really sit there and go, okay, all right, self, how bad do I want this? Like, where am I at now? Like, it's right now, it's the turning point. We're either turning back or we're going to turn forward and kick it in another gear. So that was kind of one of those that was a turning point in my hunting season right there. Was, okay, we're going to forget Colorado. It's done. And now we're going to get focused and ready to go chase bulls. As I hate to say it, but over the years I've learned, I've had a hunt where I left, didn't give it my all, left a day early, kind of gave up on myself. And it's only happened once in my life. And on the way home, I've never been more disappointed in myself in my whole life. And I vowed right there, like, never again. Like, I might come home, not punch a tag. I might miss. I might completely bomb and fail at every goal I had for the hunt. But as long as I gave it my all and stuck it out and did not quit, didn't settle, I'm okay with that. But the one time that I really gave up, it's only happened once, and I'm like, that'll never happen again. But I'm glad it happened, though, because I now think about that and how I felt, and I just refuse. I will not let myself go back to that. I mean, just absolutely, for a whole year, I had to sit and think about how I gave up and how I quit and what could have been different or what could have happened had I stayed, toughed it out, etc. Like, oh no, dude, I just, like, I could never do that again, man. That was the worst. That was the longest 365 days of my life, was like waiting to redeem myself from that.
Yeah, dude. And the thing is, like, every time that I talk to you and one of the reasons, like, I felt like we've become such close friends is, like, your attitude towards things is, like, I think just about anybody should take note of it, because, like, having that positive attitude. And the thing is, like, what you had said is, you didn't, like, it's not like you just, like, okay, it happened and you're just like, all right, change of pace now. You let yourself, like, dwell in it for a minute, and sometimes you got to do that. You got to, it's like going through like a bad breakup. You got to understand it. Oh, yeah. You got to feel those feelings, and then it's time to turn it off. And you helped me through that last year, like, with, or at least you weren't like physically talking to me, but like I thought of you in my head when my whitetail hunt, when I drew back on the biggest buck that I've ever hunted and never got the shot off. And I threw myself a pity party for a couple minutes, but I made myself climb into a tree that evening, no matter how good or bad the tree was, just to start, like, reset. You got to reset.
Yep. Well, I remember talking to you after that. I think I talked to you. You texted me about what happened, and I didn't get to talk to you till a day or two later. And I knew going into that call, like, I knew that was gonna, that was well, number one, I knew how big the deer was. I mean, you had showed me pics. I knew, I knew what was at stake there. What, especially for a Pennsylvania deer. I mean, that deer is a giant anywhere in the world, but in your home state, in the mountains like that, I mean, it was just that was a once in a lifetime. And I knew that, and you knew that.
Yep.
So I knew going into that, that was a total kick right to the balls, lack of a better terminology, but that's what it was. I mean, it was actually probably 2 kicks. But I knew the positive that would come out of it, though, would be you would adjust, you would adapt, you would look at it, what I do wrong, what I do right. We're going to figure it out. And then you go out probably, a month later and end up slamming the biggest, your biggest buck to date and just another absolute slob. So, I mean, it all come back full circle, and you could have gave up right there and hung it up. And I know a lot of guys that would have hung it up. That would have been the end. But honestly, I think it made you kick into another gear, grind a little harder, really focus on kind of rewriting your wrong, and good things happen, to people that don't give up and can go through adversity and hardships and come out on the other side. I mean, and that's what you had to do. And I mean, you took it to the end of season. I mean, hell, you were winding down. That was what, December when you killed that buck?
Yeah, December 5th by the time. I mean, and up until that point, like after I had that issue, or not issue, but the opportunity at that really big deer, like I had a couple other opportunities after that at smaller deer that any other year I'd been really happy with, but I kept thinking, I told myself I had a goal and I needed to stick with it and be okay. Like it was, I had to go all in on it, and that's just what I had to do to make it happen. And and then it ended up paying off. Just what waiting it out and just keep going and keep getting up and keep doing it. And that's and I've said this so many times on the podcast, but like all the people that I talk to, like yourself, that are consistently successful, the thing that is always in common is they don't give up and they have good attitudes. And like that's what it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, and there's things that I've been fortunate to become really good friends with a lot of killers, and some of these guys, what I've taken away from them, more or less isn't the bow setup or what kind of pack they run or fast or how they grid a mountain on Onyx. It's how they look at hard times, adversity, how they look at a tough situation, how they, can take a negative and turn it into a positive overnight. I mean, I was happy to see it. You finally got linked up with Brian Barney, really good friend of mine. Shout out to Brian over at East Meets West, over at Easton's Elevated. Him and Beau just collaborated. It was good to see, Easton's Elevated and East Meets West. I was super pumped to see you guys get hooked up, and I've been telling Beau for a long time, man, you'll fall in love with that guy as soon as you talk to him, because he's just one of those guys that, I've been fortunate to hunt with him multiple times now, and I've got to be really good friends with Brian, and he's just an absolute freaking animal mentally. I mean, physically, he's an animal too, but mentally, like, if you got in a fist fight with that guy, you'd have to kill him, because if he decided, you're not killing me, I'm going to wear you down until I can finally kill you, like, he's going to kill you. I mean, he's just an absolute mental grind monster. I mean, the guy will never quit. You'd have to kill him. You'd have to break his arms, break his legs, and then he'd try to bite you to death. Like, you would have to honestly kill him to defeat him. I mean, and that's something like, I've kind of been hooked on this motto in the last few years, because it makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if Brian's ever really said it, but I've picked it up from Brian and his good buddy, Dan Hebron, who's his main hunting partner. I've got to be really good friends with Dan as well. And we've hunted Idaho together and a couple different Montana trips together. And both those guys, there is no settling. I mean, if they set their sights on something, they will absolutely not settle. I mean, if they say, hey, it's going to be a 6-point bull or better, it's going to be a 6-point bull or better. You know, settling is quitting in my book. In my book, settling is giving up. Settling is quitting. I refuse to settle or let myself be like, well, this isn't really what I wanted, but damn it, I'm on day 8. Like, no, like if I wasn't going to kill it on day 1, I'm not killing it on day 8. I mean, and I've really adapted that to my shooting regimen, my workouts, when I'm on hunts. Like if I say, hey, it's going to be a 170 plus buck or a super, super old, the oldest buck on the mountain, it's got to be one of the two, then it's got to be one of the two. Like, and I'm just, I mean, it's just rock solid for me now, like, because I feel like when people start to play the settle game, you're honestly, in a way, like you're quitting on the original thought, the original goal, the original plan you've now backtracked on, and you're trying to almost make yourself feel better, or you're trying to do something to make yourself feel like you've accomplished something. But really, if you really tear it down and you break it down into the finer, intricate pieces, you actually quit on your original thought, your original goal. Like all you did was you settled for something that wasn't really truly what you wanted. And I mean, you know, you could use life as an example. I mean, most people aren't going to settle and spend $45,000 and buy a truck that they sort of like. Most people aren't going to marry someone that, I sort of like him, I sort of like her. So on these hunts, like, man, don't settle, because the second you fall into that trap, 9 out of 10 times you're going to regret it. And then it starts to become this pattern. You start to get in this pattern of, well, I really need to be at my kid's game tonight, but you know what? I'll make it to the next 3. And then it's, well, I didn't make it to the next one, but damn it, I'll make it to, I mean, once you start to settle in life, you're going to adapt to that. And like I said, in my mind, settling is quitting. Don't settle. And on these hunts, it's hard to not have those thoughts, and it's okay to have those thoughts, but you got to be able to harness the mental toughness that you possess in your own mind to say, no, I'm going to regroup right now. Negativity's entering. Like, nope, we're not leaving early. That buck's not big enough. I wouldn't have shot him 2 days ago. I'm not shooting him now. That's not what I come here for. Like, you've just got to be able to harness it, get control of it, and go back to positive land. And like I said, you know, I've learned that from some of these guys, you know, the Devin Leonards, the Brian Barneys, the Dan Heverns, the Tony Treek, you know, these guys will not settle. Absolutely will not settle. And there's a reason why they're successful. There's a reason why these guys get it done year in, year out. And it's not because they're settling at anything. I mean, I don't care if it's a freaking rock skipping competition, or it's chasing a big mule deer, or it's making sure they're at their kid's volleyball game. Whatever the case is, there is not a compromise. There's not a settle. If they say they're going to do it, that's the plan. That's what's going to happen. And I think that is extremely important. I think that is more important, honestly, than even your physical shape, is your mental toughness to not quit. Because I'll take the guy who's not in the greatest shape, but mentally you'd have to kill him to beat him any day over the guy with 6-pack abs that can run 47 miles and not stop, but mentally isn't afraid to quit on himself or settle, because that guy at some point, he's going to break. He might look awesome. Sorry, Beau, I'm not trying to call you out. I mentioned the 6-pack abs and all the running, and I don't want you to think I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and I've said this before, I'll take the mentally tough guy over the guy that is in peak shape, but mentally has not been punched in the mouth with adversity on a hunt, or has not been punched in the mouth in life. Like, you know, isn't afraid to per se settle. Like I said, I'll take the guy with the mental toughness any day over the guy who's not afraid to maybe settle, or not afraid to kind of quit on himself, because that will show up, especially on like a backcountry hunt or a solo hunt. That, like I said, eventually you're going to get punched in the teeth, and you better be able to harness the mental side of things. So that I agree with you. I mean, the common traits between killers, that mental game, that is their best attribute. And there's a very solid foundation for why that is, and why that produces them punching tags every single year.
And it's not even like those guys, those guys and girls that are like in that type, the type of people that you're talking about, and like yourself, it's not like they just start doing that on the hunt. You don't just all of a sudden turn it on.
No,
like they
absolutely.
live their life that way. It's a
they're-
full on lifestyle of choosing that you're not going to
Exactly.
settle in anything.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you could get into a paper football flicking contest with Brian Barney, and it's going to be life or death. I mean, it's going to be life or death. Like, he's not going to want to get beat. I mean, like, it's something that simple, that competitive side, that edge, it's going to come out. I mean, but that's just how he is. That's why his business is successful. That's why his podcast is successful. That's why the guy runs all over the country and punches tags with his bow year in and year out. Like, that guy doesn't have a I'm going to settle button or a, well, I'll pat myself on the back, I tried my best button, but you know what? This buck looks okay now. We'll just go ahead and take him home. At least I killed something. No, not that guy. No way. I mean, and you compare it to professional athletes. I mean, it's honestly no different. I mean, professional athletes are 1 out of 1,000 for a reason. I mean, because that mindset, that lifestyle, what they're doing, no one else is able to keep up with that. That's why they are getting paid to play a sport professionally. Your guys that are out punching all these tags, it's not by luck. It's not by surprise. It's not, oh man, well, if I hunted those spots, like, no, most of these guys, it's public land, it's over-the-counter tags, it's the same stuff that you and I are doing. It's just they are filling damn near every tag because they have what it possesses and what it takes to get it done, and they just flat out hunt until they get it done. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, they're going to make it happen. They need one opportunity, and when that opportunity presents itself, that animal's in trouble.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So Clint, like when you were kind of like preparing for your hunts, like say through the summer and kind of leading up to it, what are some of the things that you're doing? Like, because I know you're a very disciplined person, and you are, you have that never quit attitude that you're speaking so highly of everybody else at. But like, how are you, doing that, year round as far as getting ready for these types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've adapted from a lot of these people, that lifestyle mentality. I mean, I usually don't get to the gym or get to work out or do anything until later. I've got, 2 little boys and multiple jobs. And so when I get to the gym, it's usually later. It's after my day's already been put in. I'm tired. I'm stressed. Maybe I'm hungry. Quite frankly, maybe I just feel like shit because I'm just ready to go lay in bed and call it a day. But like, that kind of stuff right there, though, making myself go and being like, nope, got to get this 3rd or 4th workout in the week or whatever it might be. I do push-ups in the morning and in the evening, every morning, every evening. Sounds silly, but it's a discipline thing. I mean, I brush my teeth in the morning, I go do my push-ups, I get ready for the day. At night, brush my teeth and do push-ups and then go in my bed. Like, that's just, I've kind of developed these little habits and these little things that I do. It's just part of my lifestyle, part of my everyday routine. Mentally, I'm tired. Mentally, I'm worn out. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't feel like going to the gym every time I go. I don't feel like I put 65 pounds in my Kafaru hoodlum last night and went on a 3-mile hike around my farm at 10 o'clock at night. Did I feel like doing that? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. No, I wasn't jumping up and down to go do that, but I know it needs done. I know it's part of toughening me up, and when I'm on the side of a mountain in a few weeks in Utah chasing mule deer around, I'm going to look back on those nights and be damn happy I did it, because it's going to make me a lot deadlier predator out there than if I wasn't doing it. So that kind of stuff I think is important, because it kind of puts you in adversity weekly. You're sore, you're tired, you're hungry, whatever. Like it's forcing me to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And that's honestly what a lot of my hunts come down to. Living in the mountains, whether it's solo with your buddy, you're sleeping on the rocks, you're on the side of the mountain sleeping. I don't sleep that great typically when I'm out there. I'm a very light sleeper, so I don't get a ton of what I would call great sleep out there. I know that. So I try to really be in the best mental and physical shape that I can be in, because I already know going into these hunts, I don't sleep. You know, I'm not going to close my eyes and sleep 8 straight hours. That just doesn't happen. That's just not, you know, so it's, for me, it's really important that I'm mentally and physically, I'm ready to endure long days, long nights, you know, like I know what lies ahead. So kind of throughout the whole year, I mean, you know, even like shooting my bow, I mean, I'm a very, very religious on knowing that piece of gear inside and out. I mean, you know, if my pin's at 40 and a buck's at 52, like I know where I've got to hold. Do I want to have to make that gap? No, but if I need to, I know. Like I'm very, that's a very intricate process for me, setting a sight tape, setting my, you know, my new bow up every year from Matthews. You know, I mean, I love the process of it, but it does stress me out at the same time, because I've got to learn a whole new system, and that takes me a long time to get everything set exactly the way I want it. And you know what I'm talking about. You know, pretty much every year, you know, you've got the newest prime, so you're kind of in the same deal as me with that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just, you know, it's getting into a lifestyle where now I don't have to think about it. Like, I know I'm gonna do these things whether I like it or don't like it, and sometimes I'm pumped to get to the gym. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I'd rather not go shoot, but I know I need to, because in my mind it's like, well, you know, hey, season's in 2 months or season's in 3 months or whatever. You know, I've got to go out and get some reps in. It's just part of what I got to do. So I've kind of adapted that lifestyle. And then mentally, I mean, honestly, I try to think about hard times that I've been in, hard times I could be in, and I try to really harness, like, okay, this will suck, but how bad did it suck? And I always go back to this. How bad did it suck to drive the 28 hours home after you quit on yourself? And then I immediately revert to, yeah, that sucked way worse. Yep. Nope. So it's like tough situations. I've been there. But they were never as bad as that disappointing drive home where I let myself down. So, I mean, I go back to that like a lot. You know, I really try to put myself in, hey, I haven't found a mule deer in 3 days. Man, that sucks, but it could be worse. I could quit on myself, and I could have to drive 31 hours home by myself from Wyoming knowing I quit on myself. So, like, I'm constantly replaying that in my mind, because that really has stuck with me on forcing me to always find a positive in a negative and continuing on down the road and not putting it in reverse, hitting the brakes and turning around. So I think knowing that you're going to face adversity, you're going to get punched in the mouth at some point in time on every one of these hunts. It's going to happen. Unless you're the lucky guy that walks out, hikes up the mountain, a giant mule deer stands up, you shoot him at 50, he runs back down the hill towards your truck and dies. I'm not that guy. I hope that happens this year. I'd love to be that guy once. It's never happened to me yet. But unless you're that guy, chances are, you know, that guy's going to be drinking beer by noon because he just shot his buck at 9 a.m. So he's in really good shape. I've never been that guy yet, but so I'm preparing to be the guy that's grinding on day 8, day 9, day 10, and now I've got my opportunity. So I'm kind of putting my eggs in that basket, but I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I want to be the damn guy that on day 1 gets to kill his buck, and then he can hit every microbrewery in the surrounding 50-mile radius. Like, I hope I get to be that guy someday. That would be fun.
Preparing for the worst, hoping for the best.
This is yes. I'm preparing to kill myself for 9 days in hopes that someday I'll shoot something on day 1 and I can go try microbreweries for the next 8 days. That would be like that'd be fun. But you know what though? What's weird? It's not weird to me, and this won't sound like you won't think this is weird. There would be part of me though that would be disappointed that it happened like that, because as messed up as this sounds, and for people that don't know me personally, they're going to be like, this guy's lying, but Beau will attest to this because he knows me so well. I love the adversity, and I love to test my mettle. I like to get punched in the teeth, per se, and just see how tough I am. Like that honestly is why I love the solo hunt so much, because there's such a degree of difficulty in not even punching your tag, just surviving out there by yourself and mentally staying in the game. If you can do that for 7, 8 days, you have done something that 99% of the hunting world honestly can't do. That's an accomplishment in itself. So
yeah, in 99.999% of the regular world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, people here in Ohio think I am a lunatic nutcase to drive my truck clear across the country to a place I've never been, dive off into the mountains by myself, go live with, you know, the lightning, the bears, depending on where you're at, the wolves, the lions, blah, 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 in hopes of catching up to a mule deer and elk. They're like, that's ludicrous. That makes no sense. But for me, as twisted as it is, like, that is fun. That's my UFC fight. That's my title fight every year, is that hunt. I usually do at least one a year, and I love it for that reason, because I really get to test myself. So I'm not going to get be part of me that it'd be awesome to kill day one. And then there'd be part of me that'd be like, man, I didn't really get to get into it. Like, I didn't get punched in the mouth on this one. I didn't get to see, hey, you want to do badass stuff, you just got punched in the teeth. Are you still going to be a badass now? Like, I didn't get to test that out. And see, I like that. I like to test that. I like to test kind of where I'm at on that scale of, okay, you know, here's the plan, here's the goal. You just got mule kicked right in the mouth. Now what? Are you still going to do what Clint said you're going to do? Like, I like that adversity. And you know this. I mean, we've talked about this, and I might sound like a psycho, but people will relate to this that are like you and I, and a lot of your listeners are going to shake their head. Like, they'll understand this. They'll get this. This isn't for everybody. I mean, I think the backcountry solo hunts, they get romanticized because they are awesome. Don't get me wrong, but it's second level fun. You're killing yourself 99% of the time for 1%. A 30-second window that you get to draw your bow or harness or shoulder your rifle and shoot at something. I mean, and that's honestly what it comes down to. Like, you're basically living like a hobo for days on end in hopes of a 20-second window that your adrenaline rush dumps into your body like never before, and you hopefully get to make a good shot and bring something home. Like, that's what it all boils down to. So it's not what I would call type 1 fun. It's type 2, because type 1 fun is like, hey, I'm going to go to an amusement park. No one's going to break your arm before you go on a roller coaster ride. You're just going to wait in line, and then you're going to go on it. Yeah. You know, you go to a basketball game, no one's going to throw beer on you before you're allowed to get in the arena. You know, it's type 1 fun. Type 2 fun's a little bit different. Type 2 fun is this. Like, you're going to endure the suck, you're going to embrace the struggle, and then you might get to have a little bit of fun. That's kind of how I break down type 1 and type 2 fun.
That's a very accurate description of it, and you got to love type 2 if you're doing these types of hunts. There's just no doubt about it.
Psychos like you and I, we like type 2 fun. And that's good. That's, you know, we need people like us in the world, Beau.
Yeah, I mean, at least we can tell ourselves that.
Well, hey, like I said, you know, I don't tell everybody this, but talking to myself is probably my number one strategy. You know, you're like, hey, Clint, you're really not a psycho. Don't, you know, I know people think that, but don't think that. You're normal. Everybody thinks like this. It's fine. Like, you got to talk yourself right out of it or right into it.
Yeah. And yeah, you're good at talking. So 2, I don't think that, or I definitely know you're not lying. I can tell you that much. And I know, like, for myself, when I'm by myself hunting in any way, or even if I'm with people, but I'm talking to myself in my own head about, like, you have to, like, and it's just, the one point that I'll say about, like, when you were talking about, you know, how bad it hurts when you quit, like, the afterthought of that versus that bad time that you're in, that tough moment at that moment seems really bad, but that ends a lot faster than if you have to live with regret of something.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you know, last year when you had that buck in so close and wasn't able to get him killed, you know, that was a turning point for you in the season. I mean, you could have right there been like, well, we're just going to hang it up. Come January, you would have been calling me, crying every day. Why did you let me quit? Why did you not drive to my house? You know where I live, Clint. Beat the piss out of me, make me put my stuff on and keep hunting. Like guaranteed you would have been so upset with yourself. And then you got to wait till the whole following year to redeem yourself. Instead, you had your moment. You had your few days where it stung, it hurt, but you made the decision to kick it in another gear, bust adversity in the mouth, and move forward. And I mean, that's huge. I mean, and you've got a really challenging mule deer hunt coming up this year. A unit I've been in, a unit I've killed in, a unit that I love, but it's steep, it's deep, it's got a lot of cliffs, it's got a lot of rock. It is a tough place to live and survive in. For us, mule deer love it. Elk are in there everywhere. I mean, it's one of those units that, I mean, game thrives in there. Not really built for us, but going into this, mentally, physically, like what you've got to do and where you've got to be. And like, I think that makes it fun. Like, you already know you've got this big, whatever you want to call it, your Super Bowl, your title fight, however you want to look at it, in front of you. You're going to get yourself as prepared as you can. But what it's all going to boil down to is on day 5, when something bad takes place, how you're going to react to that and the decision you're going to make. And I know you don't have the settle button. You don't have the quit button. I know you're going to flip it around and grab another gear and hit it even harder than you did the day before. And that's why you're successful with this podcast, in life, just in hunting, or even just, like I said, in life, with your business, with your jobs, etc. People that have that mentality versus people that don't, you're going to see a huge swing and difference in success versus no success in what they do. And I've always said, you look at someone's group of friends, and I can probably damn near tell you what they're like. And, you run with a very similar group to yourself, motivated people that are very fortunate to have the opportunities that have been put in front of them, but they're opportunities that they've gained, they've dug and grinded for. And that's the same with you. That's where you're at. And I like to think my circle's kind of the exact same way. Like, it's a bunch of blue collar guys and girls that are out there chasing dreams and trying to bust down barriers in their own world to be able to do and accomplish what they want. And if you don't dream, and if you don't have these passion and desires and these intuitions to go out and really strive to obtain something that most think is unobtainable, what the hell are you really living for? I mean, all jokes aside, like, what are you really doing in life if you're not striving for something, or you're not completely obsessed with accomplishing or doing something in the world? I don't care if it's being the greatest yo-yoer or a professional athlete, or, for 4 years, for me, it was kill a freaking mule deer solo in Colorado. That was the only thing that mattered outside of, and my oldest son at the time, outside of him, the only thing that mattered was literally getting the freaking mule deer monkey off my back. And that was like, that's all it mattered. But it was so fun to chase that. And then once I accomplished that, then it was like, okay, well, here's the next thing, and here's the next thing. And it's a snowball effect. And you can pick out the people in the crowd that have that mentality, and I'm fortunate to call you a good buddy and be able to sit here and say that you've got that. And it's fun to watch that unfold throughout the season. Last year I knew you wasn't going to give up. I knew you'd figure out a way to make it happen. And that's exactly, I was not surprised when the texts come in, just killed biggest buck of my life. I don't have service right now. I'll get you a picture as soon as I can.
Yeah, you were one of the first people that I texted, and it's funny because you and I, like, when we can go, a month or so without talking. Yep. But when those moments hit, like where we have success or a problem, like usually we call each other first, and we're like, it's just we mesh in that sort of way in a, yeah, I don't know how to put it, but it's like, it's and like I said, when you surround yourself by those types of people, like my friends here are like that, my friends like you and the others that I've met, through the hunting space that are that way. I mean, I look up to all of them. Like, I like surrounding myself with people that are better than me, because that's what helps me strive to be better and be able to find that within. Like, I know this mule deer hunt is probably going to be the hardest hunt that I've had to do up to this point, and I've acknowledged that. And that doesn't mean like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to settle for, not succeeding in it. And I don't mean that even just by filling a tag, but I'm going to work my freaking ass off. And I have been with preparing for it and understanding those challenges and figuring out how to do it. I mean, you and I were on parallel paths when you were striving for a mule deer and I was striving for an elk. Like, we both killed within 2 weeks of each other in our fourth year. And I remember that inReach text to you and the explicit response in all capitals that you had back to me. Like, it was, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yep, I still have that. I've got that saved on my my inReach Mini.
Well, I'm pissed because my inReach Mini just broke, and they're sending me a replacement. But I was like, man, I'm gonna lose those text messages. Like, I actually, like, when I'm on these hunts and I'm in those points where I'm like, say bored essentially on a hunt, I go through all those old text messages and just laugh at them, like, because they're hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny to go back through that stuff, and it's yeah, man, I'm pumped for you. I'm excited for you. It's going to be fun to see what you guys get into, and it's been fun to try to, share my knowledge and try to help you as best I can. And it's going to be fun to see what you guys find and what you guys get into, because you guys will be in some different areas, some similar areas, and it's different from year to year. So man, I'm excited. I'm super stoked you guys got that tag, and really looking forward to seeing how that hunt pans out. And I know you guys will put yourself in position to be successful, and, hopefully it comes down to just making a shot for you. And then it's all up to you then, my friend, you know what I mean? But I definitely think you guys will find a way to get opportunities and get in position to make good plays. And, this is your first mule deer hunt, and it's something that you've heard me talk about now for 5-6 years. I mean, I'm just obsessed with it, and I'm interested to see you have more of a love for elk hunting right now for sure than mule deer hunting, but you've never went on a mule deer hunt yet. So for me, man, I would probably have to give the nod to mule deer, but elk would be a super close second. But I'm interested to see, though, like, what the parallels and the parameters are between, okay, I love elk hunting, but I've never went mule deer hunting. Now I'm going to go to this spot. This unit's, I would say, top 3 most beautiful places I've ever been to in the West. And I've been fortunate to hunt in a lot of states and a lot of beautiful units. It might be top 2. I mean, I can't really think of any place that I could say is prettier. There might be some spots that are a little easier to get into that are close to as pretty, so that would make them maybe a little,
a little prettier.
Access. Yeah, right. But overall, I mean, I'm excited, man, to see kind of how you're going to look at, okay, so how big is the gap? Do you still love elk hunting more now that you've done both, or do you think you're going to get into mule deer maybe a little bit more and give that a nod? Like, I'm excited to see, man. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to fall in love with it. I think you're going to be like me, and you're going to look at mule deer tags every year and elk tags. It's going to be a toss-up. Like, one's going to maybe have a slight advantage over the other, but I think it's going to be really close, man. I really do. Like, I think you're going to fall in love with the chess match and with chasing velvet around. I look for you to really thoroughly enjoy yourself and have a kick-ass time over there.
Yeah, dude, I don't want to say it until I experience it, but like, I just have this, I've been wanting to mule deer hunt for years, but I needed to do the elk thing. I needed to get that done. I started that, and I couldn't quit without finishing what I was there to start. But I just feel like I'm going to love mule deer hunting. I don't know. It just, I after I started the last 2 years going on hunts where I could glass more, which I had never done in the first few years of elk hunting. Like, I'm like, I love watching the world wake up essentially in the mornings or getting ready to go to bed, I guess, and waking up in the evenings. And it's going to be fun. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to it. But Clint, I wanted to when you were talking about last year with that snowstorm that put you out of place, you went back out to Utah and had a hell of an elk hunt. So do you want to give a rundown of that before we close things out?
Yeah, so I drew a tag. I mean, it's really no secret where I was at. I was on the front. Probably, I'm going to have to say, the most highly pressured unit in the West. If it's not number one, it's got to be top two. Unlimited over-the-counter tags. I did not draw the bull tag that I wanted in Utah. Limited. I did not draw a Wyoming bull tag. So I said, okay, well, I hunted the front a couple times for mule deer and stuff. I thought, well, I'm going to give it hell. I got a good system of buddies out there. You know, Devin Leonard's out there, and my good buddy Jason. Shout out to Jason. Over at Crispy and Black Ovis, Jason Mackey. You know, those guys I've got to be really close with. I love going over there and hunting with them. I love being able to catch up with those guys. So I was like, you know what? I was going to kind of mix. I was going to do some solo stuff. I was going to hunt with those guys some, and I'm just like, man, you know, I'm just going to give it hell. And I knew going into it, it was going to be rough because I've hunted that unit and I know what it's like. Ton of people. I got in there on a Thursday. Didn't see or hear anything. My philosophy was to get up around 3 o'clock in the morning, run ridge lines. If I was going to do any calling then, if I was going to do any calling, it was going to be in the mornings early, try to locate some bulls, and then basically coyote the herd and stay silent all throughout the rest of the early morning. And then once it cracked daylight, hopefully be in position to start making plays then. Excuse me. Because the pressure's so high over there, you know, the general way to hunt elk, or the fun way to hunt elk, is to set up and call a bull in, or, you know, play that game. On this unit, you may as well not even, I mean, outside of calling at night, there's really no point of even bringing elk calls with you. Those bulls shut off the second the lights come on. They know the game. On Friday, I ran into 19 hunters, or excuse me, it was either 17 or 19. I might have, it was one of the two, 17 or 19 different hunters I either talked to, waved at, or saw through the glass. So like 100% different hunters. Everyone had a bugle tube. 90% of them every 10 minutes was bugling, cow mewing, doing something, raking. Basically, the philosophy was find a bull in the dark, get in on that herd, play the wind, skirt the herd, and try to be in there, kind of in their wheelhouse, beat them back to bed, or sneak in the morning, right at first light, and get an arrow in one. So the first few days, pretty much, I didn't see an elk Thursday, Friday. I didn't hear a bull till early Saturday morning, heard 2 bugles. Didn't see a bull until Sunday. Ran into a few cows Monday. Got hooked up with my buddy Jason. He was able to do some hunting Sunday, Monday. We checked one of his spots, and it was loaded with elk sign. And we figured they had gotten pressured into this little piece of public. They were in there right now, so we knew we had to strike when the iron was hot. So Monday and Tuesday, I was going to focus in there. Got within 71 yards of the bull I ended up killing. There was 2 satellites in there with him and 30 cows and calves. Full draw 71. Every time I needed him to stop, he would nudge a cow with his antlers and keep on moving. It was just like he knew not to stop. I mean, I was yelling, I was whistling. I mean, I could not get this bull to, that would have been like day 6. At that point in time, I really thought that was my opportunity. I mean, I had grinded, you know, I went 4 or 5 days and did not see or hear an elk, heard 2 bugles the one morning, but hadn't actually seen elk for the first 5 days. So it was tough. I mean, and like I said, I don't want to romanticize elk hunting in any way, shape, or form, because it is tough, but this unit is particularly tough because there's just so many people and so much pressure. The elk are just so turned on to hunting pressure. But I really thought that was my opportunity. That was really a kick to the guts. Just so happens that day, Barney killed a really good bull, I believe in Idaho. He called me, and it was funny because he's on cloud 9. I feel like I just broke my arms and my legs. And so I'm like feeding, I'm pumped up now because I'm feeding off his success. I'm telling him my story after he tells me about his bull. And he's like, dude, man, you're in there with him. You're close. Like, it's going to happen, man. Like, you gotta, typical Brian fashion, dude, you got to stick in it. You got to stick with it. Like, you took a punch to the mouth, but tomorrow's your knockout. Like, it's going to happen, man. You got to regroup, get back up. So, the next morning I got up super early, and same philosophy, running some of these knife ridges. I dropped down in the timber a little further because the pressure had pushed the whole herd further and further down the mountain. So I kept kind of going down as well. And I wasn't even starting on top now. I was kind of running like the finger ridges and the knife ridges that are kind of, further down the mountain off the top. Got back into that same herd. And as luck would have it, ended up getting back in on that bull. Wasn't able to put a play on him that day, but I got to watch what he did. It was super interesting. And this is a good reminder for me, for anyone listening. So there was a couple hunters that had spotted that bull. They were down in this meadow below me. He was by himself that morning, but there were other satellites around, and they were all kind of bugling back and forth. He had 30 cows and calves with him. The second that a hunter started to bugle, now mind you, I could tell it was a hunter. So not being mean, hopefully this guy's not listening. I don't know who he was, but he was awful at bugling. That bull could tell it was a hunter. Now, he bugled back twice at what we're going to call it Hunter Z in his shitty bugle call. He bugles twice at Hunter Z, okay? Hunter Z is to the north. The second that bull realized, okay, this is not a real elk, this is a hunter, he shut up, he rounded up the entire harem and took them immediately to the dark timber, 180 degrees due south of where the hunter was, okay? So completely the opposite direction. Never made another peep. Now, once he got in the dark timber, he bugled once or twice. I'm assuming they were all getting ready to bed down. That was the end. So the next day, Jason was able to go back in with me and Devin. They were able to hunt that day. And I told him, I said, if this bull starts in bugling, I said, we're just going to stay quiet. The only time we're going to bugle is if he would shut up and I need to know where he's at. And we're only going to get a few opportunities to get him to bugle. Because, I mean, I consider myself pretty decent at bugling. Those guys are both pretty good. But let's just be honest. It's hard to sound to a mature herd bull. It's hard to fool them. I mean, a bull that's been around 8, 9, 10 years, it's pretty hard to fool them. So long story short, we find this bull in the morning. He shuts up. I'm trying to make a play. Jason bugles twice. This bull answers twice. That gives me enough of a location to figure out where he's heading. I know what's going to happen. I know he's going to take that harem and go directly away from where the bugle's coming from. So I'm already beating my ass, like as fast as I can get. I'm already heading to this saddle. I'm like, he's going to take this harem up and over into dark timber. Like he already knows the game. I'm going to beat him there. And that's what I did. I got there. All the cows and calves are filtering through 45 yards, 46 yards, 44 yards. He's the last one. I'm at full draw, 46 yards. Here they come. And as luck would have it, a cow and a calf in the very back break off. Like both of them tear off down the hill. And now in my mind, I'm like, no, like, gee, like, no. I let down. I know what's going to happen. He takes off. He rounds them up. Now I'm ranging 75, 76, 74. Okay, there's an opening between two trees. There's a trail right behind it. 76, set my slider. I'm like, all right, Clint, 46, 76. It's no different. Put the pin 6 inches behind the shoulder, bury it, and freaking kill this bull. Here's your opportunity. It's day 8. This is it. Like, you're not going to get a third chance. It's now or never right now. I remember coming back to full draw, burying that pin, and I just remember thinking, like, get this bull to stop. When he stops, he has no clue you're there. Wind's in your face, thermals are in your face. Settle the pin, push and pull the bow apart. This bull's dead. That's exactly what I did. And I watched that arrow bury into a dark spot of hair about 5 inches behind the shoulder, complete pass through. He tears off about 70 yards, sounds like a helicopter crashes, just completely ass over tin cup. He's done. Double lung. I mean, it's probably one of the most iconic moments thus far in my bow hunting career, because there was so much pressure riding on that moment. It was day 8. This is the second time I've had this bull within 80 yards. I mean, I know I can make that shot. The animal's calm, no idea I'm there. I get him stopped. I'm at full draw. I give him a little cow mute, just a little, and get him to stop. He looks away. I mean, everything's perfect. All I got to do now is go back to my backyard, like I'm in my flip-flops, and make a shot. And I was able to keep it together and do exactly just that. And so that hunt will mean a lot to me forever, because it's such a pressured unit. It's such a tough unit to kill a herd bull on day 8. I had both my good buddies there. They were part of it. I mean, we all got to pack it out together. I mean, just one of the funnest days on the mountain I'll probably ever have, and to share it with a bunch of good buddies, packing that bull out. Man, it was just, that's one of those moments that you just live for as a bow hunter, especially when you get to involve, a bunch of good friends. Yeah, gosh dang, man, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, just putting myself back in that moment. Like, it was, it's just one of those moments that will be ingrained in you forever, but it's fun to build off that. Like, I know that feeling. I know what that felt like. Like, man, you just get hungry for those moments. I mean, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You've killed enough big whitetails and your first bull and turkeys, and just, you grind and grind and grind and grind, and you finally get to pull the trigger and you make a perfect shot, and you get to accomplish the goal, and you enjoy it for a little bit, but then the hunger sets back in, and then you're like, man, that was awesome, but now I got to do it again. And I think that is why your Michael Jordans and your Tom Brady's of the world, I'm a sports nut, so I revert back to sports a lot, but this is why, in my opinion, there will never be another Michael Jordan, and there'll never be another Tom Brady. And I hate Tom Brady. I hate the Patriots, hate the Buccaneers, but the guy is a killer. I mean, he's never satisfied, and he just strives for that moment. I mean, he accomplishes a goal, and then it's on to the next. He celebrates for a day, and then, okay, well, I won my 6th Super Bowl. How do I get my 7th? Michael Jordan, yep, won my 3rd ring. How do I get my 4th? How do I get my 5th? How do I get my... I mean, they just had that killer mentality, and they were never satisfied. They were battled. And that's why those two, in my opinion, will go down as the GOATs of all time in sports. I mean, the mentality that they had, they were just never settled, but that's what allowed them to do so much in their collective sports and be so successful, is just that edge, that killer mentality. So for me, it's like, I chase those moments, man. I think back to how good that felt, how awesome that was. And it just makes me hungry. Like, gosh damn, I just can't wait to get this season going, man. And it's fun when you've got buddies with really good tags. Like, I'm going to Wyoming with one of my best friends, Kurt Geyer. Shout out to Kurt and all the boys over at Working Class Bow Hunter Podcast. I'm going with him, and me and Devin's going to help him. He drew a really, really, really good Wyoming mule deer tag. And, we're going to go in with him and try to help him fill that tag. And he lost his dad this past spring to COVID. Very unexpected. Papa Dave was really close with him, huge supporter of me and whatnot. And it's going to be over his birthday. So there's just it's such a special meaning behind that. I've got some really good tags myself, and Devin's got some good tags. And, it's just, man, you just start building off all this. Like, you want your buddies to be in these moments and be able to feel that success. And I've been there, and like, I want, I get as excited, if not more excited. Like, I'll be on pins and needles while you're on your hunt, and I'm going to be on a hunt at the same time. I'll probably be more nervous to hear from you guys than I will be my own success, just because, like, I'm going to be anticipating that inReach text, like, of, hey, so-and-so killed, or I killed, or, I just, yeah, man, like, it's just, I build off those moments of success, but I'm always hungry. I'm never satisfied. And I know you're like-minded just like that. So it's just fun to build off hunts like that and kind of refer back to those on, yeah, that was awesome, but we got to do it again. Like, you know, I can't wait for you to kill your first muley, for Kurt to kill on this Wyoming tag. Like, I can't wait to experience that stuff and be able to have a small part in those moments because they are so special. Yeah, man, I'm freaking rambling now because I'm just getting freaking jacked. I'm just pumped, dude. I can't wait.
Oh my, I know. And no, what we're going to have to do is, all right, so with me, Mason, and Michael, we're going to kill muleys. You're going to kill a muley. Kurt's going to kill a muley. We're going to have to get one big group podcast together and talk about it.
Oh, dude, that would be, I'm holding you to that because that would be epic as all get out, man. That'd be so much fun. We got to make that happen. Win, lose, or draw, we need to do it and talk about your experience, Kurt's experience, my experience on being on a hunt with buddies, then going straight to a solo hunt. I mean, that's going to be kind of a change of mind pace for me. So, you know, yeah, man, that would be awesome. I think people would really enjoy it. And you know what? Hey, I'm going to say it lightly. I mean, even if people don't enjoy it, to hell with them, because I think it'd be fun as shit to do it.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be awesome, man.
And I'm sure your listeners would enjoy it, but I'm just kidding. I'm sure people would really enjoy that. So many different aspects, with mule deer being the main focus. I mean, if we have to let Mason on, I guess we let him on. I mean, I don't really want Mason to come on, but if we have to, we have to. It is what it is.
Yeah, sometimes you got to bite the bullet just to deal with it and not have to deal with him, really.
Shout out to old Mason. So that's Beau's, first cousin, right?
Yeah, first cousin.
Yep. So I've got to be really good friends with Mason through Beau, and I actually was one of his first calls last year when he shot a really good buck in Utah. I was out there at the same time, and oh man, he was so pumped. Gosh dang, was he excited. That was awesome. That was a fun phone call. I mean, you know, Mason's pretty low key, but he was going so fast. I thought it was me talking for a second. He was rambling and going so fast, dude, 99 mile an hour. I had to tell him at one point, hey, you got to slow down. I don't even know what you just said. All I know is you killed something. Like, yeah. It was awesome though, man. That was
yeah, like Mason is like the most like calm person that you can ever meet, and then in that moment, I know.
It was awesome.
You know, it's funny because Mason and I, you know, we're first cousins, we're hunting partners, and now we work together and have to work with each other every single day, 9 to 10 hours a day. And then we come home, shoot bows, and we don't live together, but we spend a lot of time together. So it's cool.
Now, do you guys like have bunk beds or shower together or anything interesting like that, or haven't quite got to like that level yet, or no?
I mean, bunk beds, honestly, I mean, I know it's convenient, but like just one queen usually does the trick. So that's kind of the way that we've rolled. And I won't comment on the shower thing because we're on a podcast here, but this all makes sense. No wonder I've heard from Colby so much in the last few months. She's lonely, Beau. She's lonely. Can you quit talking to my girlfriend?
I can't wait. I don't know if she listens to all of them or not, but I really hope she listens to this one so I can get that text or the message on Instagram of, really, Clint, with about 100 question marks. Yeah. I'm going to wait for it.
Well, I'm going to have to make her listen to it because I don't think she listens to any of them. So I'll make sure she
Colby.
Oh, well, Clint, good luck. You start off in Utah, then you go up to Wyoming to help Kurt, and then you got Colorado, and then you go to Idaho, right? Idaho next for elk?
I didn't draw my Idaho elk tag. I've got another Utah. I got another Utah over the counter tag. So yeah, man, it's going to be fun. And then I'll probably go back out. If I don't fill my early season, muley tag, I can hunt the extended archery hunt in the rut, which even if I do kill early, I'll still go out and help Devin and Jason and all my buddies because that is a blast, man. Anyone that's never hunted, everyone thinks I'm nuts because I'm from the Midwest and I leave to go chase the mule deer rut instead of the whitetail rut. If you guys think the whitetail rut is fun, go chase mule deer around in the rut. You will drastically change your opinion on that. I will take mule deer in November any day over the whitetail rut, hands down, and not even a question. Like that is one of my funnest hunts of the entire year. It might be the funnest hunt. That's just a blast, man. With or without a tag, like I will do that hunt every single year, either in Idaho or Utah, for as long as I can do them or as long as I'm alive. I mean, that's one we're going to have to hook up and do sometime because I know you love the rut and, the muley rut, dude. It is like when it's on, it is freaking on.
Oh man, I know that's one of those hunts that I really want to do along with many others, but that one is like, after hearing you talk about it, it's like I need to make that happen as well. And coming from you, who's like, for anyone that somehow hasn't listened to you talk before and stuff, you're a whitetail nut too, and for you to leave the whitetail woods to go chase muleys during the rut, that means something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the guy that used to take off the whole month of November and spend 17, 18, 19 days, dark till dark, whatever it took to get it done. And now, I mean, nope, I'm good. I'll kill early or kill late or whatever. Like that mule deer game in November, man, watching those gray ghosts all puffed up and fight to the death like they will. I mean, that watching it through the glass and watching bucks come from all over to chase a hot doe that's down in the canyon or a group of does that's coming. I mean, it is just to see it all unfold and then try to make a play and cut them off, or they bed down and you're trying to sneak in. And I mean, it's just those hunts that you never know what's going to happen and you never know when or where it's going to happen. It's like at any moment, giant can come up over top of a hill rutting a doe or in search of a hot doe or by himself looking for the next hot doe. I mean, it's just one of those hunts where it's like at any moment. I mean, every hunt at any moment in time could be the moment, but like literally on those rut hunts, man, there are so many deer doing so many different things at one time that it just makes it such a fun, you could see no deer for 2 hours and then in the next hour see 10 different bucks, 3 buck fights, and 2 does get bred all in a 60-minute span. I mean, that's just it's incredible to watch it, and it's incredible to be a part of that. It's just a very intense, time frame in a mule deer's life, and it's just fun to be out there, man. Like, we're definitely gonna have to hook up and do one of those. I think you would. Unfortunately, it would take a little bit away from your typical whitetail rut hunt in a saddle or in a stand in Pennsylvania, Ohio. I'm just going to break the news to you right now. It's going to take away from that a little bit. I'm just prepare yourself. It's going to make it a little bit harder to sit in a tree and not want to get down, use the glass, and then tear off across the mountain and go cut a buck off.
I know. I'm going to have to get better at killing early or late, I guess.
Well, I mean, you know what they say in Pennsylvania. I mean, the spotlight game is kind of where you need to be. I mean, that's the best way to kill them early is, get them with that spotlight thing, and you guys can use the rifles. And I'm kidding. I'm completely 110% kidding before someone calls in and gets all pissed. It's a joke. You are allowed to legally spotlight in Pennsylvania. You're not in Ohio, so I always give Beau shit about the spotlight game. But please don't go out and shoot deer in front of the spotlight and then quote me and Beau on a podcast and say that's what you were told to do, because I'm 100% kidding. So nobody get their panties all in a riff. I'm just joking.
Well, you're changing. Normally you wouldn't apologize or even say that you're joking.
Well, in today's world, it's like you almost have to clarify now so that way someone's feelings don't get hurt or someone doesn't get super upset. It's almost kind of fun to apologize first. Like that almost offends more people now than if you don't do it. So it's almost kind of like it's a 50-50 split there.
Yeah. Well, hey, Clint, thank you for coming on and talking again here. We do, 100% when you get back from some of these hunts, we need to catch up and just do a season recap and talk about it when it's nice and fresh in our minds.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. We're both going to have some kick-ass adventures and have a lot of fun and hopefully punch some tags and more importantly, just enjoy enjoy these tags and enjoy the places they're going to take us. And yeah, man, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to get it going. So as always, we're always in touch. But yeah, man, I'm pumped for you guys out there in Colorado. I'm really looking forward to how you guys do over there, and it's going to be fun to keep up with all you guys on the season and whatnot. So wish you all the best, and we'll definitely be in touch as always, my friend. Can't thank you enough for having me on.
Yeah, we'll have the inReach charged up and hopefully working hard when we're getting all these techs getting each other fired up. So that's for sure. Clint, where can people find, if they're not following along with your stuff already, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so I write full time over at shout out to Peterson's Bow Hunting, Christian Berg and Jeff Warren and the gang over there. Pretty much every issue there. Fortunate to this is, I think, my 4th or 5th year now, pretty much full time with those guys. Still do quite a bit for blogs on Onyx and Go Hunt and whatnot. You can find me on their websites. Podcast, man, I'm all over the map. I mean, blessed to be able to get on with you and Eastman's Elevated, Brian Barney, and I do a bunch of work with Kurt and the gang over at Working Class Bow Hunter and whatnot. So, multiple platforms on the I guess you could kind of call me, I've been called shout out to old Doug from WCB. He called me the podcast whore. Oh, that's been a year or two ago, and that's kind of stuck. At first I took offense to it, and then I thought, well, I mean, it is sort of fitting. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't really take offense to it. I kind of embraced it, actually. But yeah, so I'm kind of all over the map when it comes to the podcast game, but I really enjoy jumping on with you in this platform, Beau. And like I said, can't thank you enough. Instagram, Casper Clint. Facebook, I don't use it a ton, but when I am on there, just Clint Casper. So I refuse to tweet, and I don't have any of the other forms. Oh no, I guess I do have what's the other thing you and I have that we never use?
TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok. Yeah. You can tell I use that a lot. So yeah, pretty much Instagram is probably about the only one I really take serious. So.
Awesome. Well, everybody go check him out, because if you're feeling down and Clint has a post up, it'll bring you up. I can promise you that.
Well, I appreciate that. Now I can tell that every time you look at my stuff, you've been drinking.
Well, yeah, drink quite a bit. No.
Well, thanks again, Beau. I really appreciate it, my man.
All right, we'll see you, Clint.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.